G20 in New Delhi have been announced. Now, scheduled flights by scheduled operators will continue. That's the piece of breaking news that's coming in. Now, the Rohini heliport shall remain closed. The Safdarjung airport shall remain closed except for Indian Air Force helicopters, which may be deployed for emergency duty or VVIP duty. That's also the news that we're getting. Also, the BSF and the Indian Air Force helicopters will also be utilized by the NSG for providing immediate backup support. So that's the piece of breaking news that's coming in. These are all preparations when it comes to the G20 Summit. I'm joined by my colleague Ridhima on the broadcast, who's getting us this piece of breaking news. Ridhima, break down this for us.
Ayushman, as you rightly pointed out, this is something that we had reported last week as well, that there will be flight restrictions during the G20 Summit, which is from the 8th to 11th. Now, NOTAM is in fact a notice to airmen, which is a protocol or a procedure that is issued in cases like this, which essentially means that other than the scheduled flights, nothing else will be allowed in the airspace on those given days. As you rightly pointed out, there is already a schedule that has been shared, which means the flights that have been listed by various airlines and operators, those will go on as per schedule, but there could be last minute changes in terms of either arrival or departure. I will just talk about that in just a bit, but other than that, the details that we are picking up, as you rightly pointed out, that the Indian Air Force, the BSF Aviation Research Center flights, they will take place as scheduled. Army aviation helicopters undertaking any airborne missions for casualty or relief operations, they will also be allowed. State-owned aircraft, helicopter flying the governor or a chief minister, they will also allow to be using the airspace in those given days. What we're also understanding is that the Rohini heliport in fact will be closed during these days. But just going back to the kind of flight disruption that we might see over the time period of the G20 Summit, this is something that we'd broken on CNN News 18 a week ago. When we spoke to officials from DIAL, they had estimated that anywhere between 100 to 160 flights will be disrupted. But when you spoke to sources from various airlines, they said this number could go up to 500. So quickly, just an advisory for all those who are planning to travel in the coming days, do check your flights schedule doubly with your airline operator. Also, as I pointed out a short while ago, that there could be disruptions in terms of the arrival at departure time.
Right. Thank you, Ridhima, for getting us that piece of breaking news. These details coming in when it comes to the entire, preparation for the G20 Summit. And when it comes to the security cover, Ridhima, please stay with us. When it comes to the entire security cover surrounding the entire G20 Summit, decode the preparations for that, because we've seen a lot of drills that have been happening on the ground when it comes to ensuring security cover for all the foreign dignitaries. When it comes to utilizing all these airspaces for that security cover, decode the operations for that.
Ayushman, as you rightly pointed out, and various colleagues also, in fact, have been reporting on the various security drills that have been taking place. Because remember, this is a mammoth event that's taking place when India took over the presidency, for us to hold delegates from across the world. It's not just the prime ministers and the presidents, but the delegations that, in fact, will be accompanying these top leaders as well. So we've already seen sanitation and security drills that have been taking place non-stop over the last 1 week to ensure that all goes as per plan. Just last week, there was a full dress rehearsal by authorities on the ground as well. But in terms of a NOTAM being issued, as I pointed out a short while ago, this is just a process and a protocol that is followed in episodes like these. It helps to sanitize the entire process so that you exactly know the number of flights that will be allowed. But what is also interesting right now is, and this could cause a lot of inconvenience to people who are flying on those days anywhere between 8th to 11th, is that we don't know which are the exact flights that are going to be disrupted. As I pointed out, most airlines are currently working with the estimate that yes, there will be disruptions as far as schedules, but they can't pinpoint the number of flights that will be disrupted. So going back to what we were pointing out a short while ago, that all passengers are requested to take a check at their airline timings, flight departure, landing, speak to airline operators if that's a possibility, and also factor in a lot of extra time, because as far as road blockades are there, we've already put out that advisory on the channel a short while ago. So there will be delays. So requesting passengers to factor in that extra time, keeping in view as far as the summit is concerned. Lastly, Ayushman, what most sources within the airlines and even the airport officials are saying, the maximum amount of lag will be on Friday and Sunday, because Friday will be the day when the delegates and the delegations will be flying in, and Sunday will be the day that they will be flying out. So Friday and Sunday are 2 days that could be problematic.
So be prepared for the disruptions, plan accordingly. Thank you, Ridhima, for getting us all those details ahead of the G20 Summit.